Walt Disney DIS announced a much-anticipated acquisition, as it is acquiring a substantial portion of 21st Century Fox FOXAin, a $66 billion deal. The deal is mostly driven by strategic considerations, as Walt Disney should get enough content to start its own subscription service, as the company gains overseas assets and moves into other sports as well. I like the strategic nature of the deal and prospects for $2 billion in cost synergies in the meantime. Trading roughly flat for the year, as Disney has seen real challenges in its business as well. I like the deal but understand that real integration work needs to be done in order for the deal to succeed. Buying a quality name at a market multiple based on current earnings, I am adding on any dip around the $100 mark. The deal: Walt Disney has agreed to acquire 21st Century Fox, but not before. Fox will spin off its broadcasting network and stations, news business, FS1, FS2 and Big Ten Network in a separate company. Included in the deal are a range of assets, including the 21st Century Fox film and television studio, cable entertainment networks, international TV, a stake in Hulu, and other international properties, including a 39% stake of Sky. Investors in Fox will receive 0.2745 shares of Disney, which values equity of Fox at $52.4 billion. Shareholders in Fox will own a combined 515 million shares of Disney, or a quarter of the company. As Disney will furthermore assume $13.7 billion in debt held by Fox, the total deal value jumps to $66.1 billion. Disney points out that adjusted for the equity investment in Sky, which runs at nearly $10 billion, and some other equity investments, the adjusted enterprise valuation comes in at $55.5 billion. A great business combination. With the acquisition of Fox, Disney will become a much stronger force in television and film and actually have a great deal of content to fight the battle with Netflix and FLX. In television, Disney will add Star, Fox, Fox Sports, the television production business, and National Geographic, among others. In terms of movies, major franchises like X-Men, Star Wars, Deadpool and Avatar will be added, while Disney will gain greater distribution capabilities through the company's stake in Sky and Hulu, among others. Of course, Disney will now have a controlling stake in Hulu, giving it much more strategic power to compete with Netflix, as these properties have great overlap with the business of Disney, with the exception of the parks and resorts and consumer products business. Walt Disney expects to generate substantial cost savings, to the amount of $2 billion a year. More important is the strategic nature of the business, which means that Disney should become a much greater force to fight the battle with Netflix and gain great sports platforms in international markets such as Europe, India and Latin America. As well, Disney will add $4.7 billion in adjusted EBITDA with the acquired businesses of Fox, which works out to 11.8 times adjusted EBITDA based on the adjusted enterprise valuation. That number drops to 8.3 times once expected synergies are taken into account. Pro forma picture: leverage earnings. In November, Walt Disney posted its fourth quarter results. The company ended the quarter with $4 billion in cash, while debt stood at $25.3 billion. This net debt load of $21.3 billion will jump to $35 billion after the company assumes the debt of Fox. Walt Disney itself posted EBITDA of roughly $1,718 billion last year, as Fox will add nearly $5 billion in EBITDA, or $7 billion after taking into account synergies. The pro forma EBITDA number jumps to $2,223 billion, or $2,425 billion after synergies are taken into account. It should be said that it will take until 2021 before the synergies are being fully realized. The leverage ratio of 1.6 times X synergies is less than CFO Christine McCarthy communicated. She mentioned a 2.2 times leverage ratio as a result of the deal, a number which would jump to 2.9 times if Fox completes the purchase of the stake in Sky, which it does not already own. Part of the reason behind the discrepancy in leverage multiples might be the result of the fact that she takes into account consolidated losses of Hulu, but that cannot explain the entire difference in leverage ratios. The EBITDA number of Fox much more closely resembled an EBIT number because of the asset-light business model. At Disney, most of the depreciation charges of nearly $3 billion per anima related to the parks and resorts business. With Disney posting EBIT of $14 billion and the acquired Fox assets probably in excess of $4 billion, we end up with $18 billion in EBIT. This number might increase to $20 billion following synergies. Assuming a 4% cost of debt on $35 billion in net debt, interest expenses are seen at $1.4 billion. After taking into account 30% taxes, that yields after-tax earnings of $11.6 billion to $13 billion, as the share count will jump from 1.54 billion shares to 2.05 billion shares. The earnings number will come in around $5.65 per share, or $6.35 per share once synergies are realized. This compares to current earnings of around $5.70 per share, which suggests that the deal will have a neutral impact on earnings per share in the short run, as synergies should drive earnings accretion in the coming years. Of course, the main rationale behind the deal is the improved strategic positioning in terms of competing with Netflix and obtaining a greater global reach. Final thoughts: shares of Disney have not reacted that much to speculation, or the actual announcement of the deal. The strategic rationale makes sense as it boosts the content library and thereby potential for the own bundle to compete with Netflix. Disney will furthermore obtain great assets overseas, as well as access to sports in which they are not active yet, while they obtain lot of technological knowledge as well. A clear testament to the fact that investors are not completely sold on the deal can be seen in the reaction of investors in Netflix. Its share has hardly moved on the back of deal rumors and actually was up on the announcement day, as investors feel that integration and replicating that service will remain a very challenging task for Disney. After all, Disney is not used to mega deals in recent times, as the purchase of Pixar, Marvel and Lucasfilm all came in below the $10 billion mark. The question remains if viewers across the globe are loyal to a name like Netflix and its original content, or could be lured away for a competing service. With the cost of these subscription services rising and a substantial number of households still having traditional memberships, it remains to be seen how many are willing to sign up for dual bundle services on top of their regular television subscription. Another big question mark remains that of regulatory approval, certainly in the home market. I have a rather neutral stance towards this deal, which means that based on earnings power of around $6 per share, and the fact that leverage comes in at 23 times following the deal, depending on the definition of leverage and Sky deal, the valuation is full at 18 times forward earnings. While the parks business continues to be great, Disney has seen challenges in its core, and it remains to be seen how the integration will go and how competition with Netflix will evolve, but at least the deal looks good on paper. Disclosure: IWE have no positions in any stocks mentioned, and no plans to initiate any positions within the next 72 hours. I wrote this article myself, and it expresses my own opinions. I am not receiving compensation for it other than from seeking alpha. I have no business relationship with any company whose stock is mentioned in this article.